Hello everyone and welcome to fully interactive Facebook Live with the wedding guru Oscar. I am super excited to be welcoming you to today's interview. I am hosting the pipe major David McRobert from BagPiper Online, who will be discussing everything about weddings in relation to music, especially live music. David has worked with me all my career. I started in 2009, and that's when I was joined by David at one of the properties in Edinburgh, and he supported me throughout all my career with supplying bagpipers to all the weddings I've worked on in my career. David is super excited. He's got a fantastic team of bagpipers throughout Scotland, particularly in the central belt of Scotland, anything from the west coast to the east coast, and also into Fife as well. And he is in fact the managing director of BagPiper Online, so he will have tons of experience, ideas, wedding planning tips and hints for the live music, for your ceremonies, for your wedding breakfast, and so on and so forth. So he's very much looking forward to discussing this with you today. As we're seeing a couple of people clicking on, I see a few faces already popping up here as well. We are going live. We are streaming live to my Facebook page, The Wedding Guru Oscar, and we're also streaming live to my private group, the Interactive Facebook Lives with The Wedding Guru Oscar. All the videos that you're seeing today are fully live. That's a live stream, so we are able to interact with yourselves live as well. So because of that, I highly encourage all of you guys to pop in the comments and say hello, pop your name in the comments below, tell us where you're coming from. In the little description above the video just now, there's a little link to StreamYard. StreamYard is a streaming software that I'm using today in order to stream to both my page and the group as well. So if you wanted to give StreamYard the permission to share your name, you will not need to mention your name. But because we're using StreamYard, and if you don't give them permission to share your name on the screen, I will be getting your comments without the name, and it will just say Facebook user. So if you decided not to give them permission, which is absolutely fine, we highly recommend that you pop your name before the comment or the question so we can address you personally in this Facebook Live today as well. Before we get started, there's a couple of housekeeping things I wanted to go over. As you're watching the Facebook Live today with me and David, feel free to take a little selfie of yourself watching it and pop it on social media, tagging both David and I if you found our session useful. We would want to spread the word and the love about weddings further into the world, so other couples that are planning their weddings at the moment can see this session as well. If you are, however, joining us on repeat, make sure that you pop a hashtag repeat. Sorry, I'm just going to repeat that again. If you're following us on repeat today, head over to the little comment box below, comment hashtag repeat, and that way we will be notified of you watching after the session is finished, and we can come back to any questions you might have as well. Like I said, it is a live session, so we want to make it as interactive and as fun as possible for yourselves. The more questions, the more interaction we're getting from you, the more comments, the more opinions we're getting from you, the more relevant and the more informative we can make it for you as well. So we highly encourage comments, questions, just opinions, anything like that, pop them in the comment box below as well. And all the sessions will remain on my page and on the Facebook group as well after the sessions are finished today, so that we can share this with other couples afterwards, and you can watch it anytime after today as well if you wanted to come back to any of these sessions. One of the other things that I wanted to say is that we're going live, so make sure that you send us as many questions as possible. We're getting a few faces. Hello, Caroline. Hi, good to see you. Thank you very much for accepting the little link to StreamYard. Lovely to see you. Thank you for joining us. And we've got Stuart Perry from Southampton joining us as well. Fantastic. Everywhere in the country. Brilliant. Good to see you guys. Thank you very much for participating as well. So we'll get started. We've got quite a few of us in the group already, which is great to see as well. And like I said, if we don't get to answer all the questions in the Facebook Live today, we will go back with David and answer them in the comments below as well after the Facebook Live is finished. So let's get started, why don't we? Okay, I'm just going to show you the presentation a little bigger now, and I'll switch over. So what can you expect of our Facebook Live today? So we'll begin with introduction. There will be a little introduction to begin with. We will then move on to the interview itself, and right at the end of our session, there will be an open Q&A as well. So if you've got questions and you're not sure if you want to ask them during our official questions, you can leave them to the end of the presentation, and there will be time to ask questions live at the end as well. But feel free to pop them in the presentation as we're going through it as well. Before we get started, if we haven't met before, my name is Oscar and I am the Wedding Guru Oscar. I started the Wedding Guru Oscar back in December last year, the 1st of December, and just before this wonderful time of COVID-19. Before that, I have been involved in the wedding industry since 2009, so I have been planning and running weddings and delivering them on the day for over a decade now. My career began with more of an operational outlook. I was responsible to act master of ceremonies on the weddings, and I was looking after couples from the moment of arrival on their wedding morning, and bridal preparation, through the ceremony, through the meal, looking after staff, organising everything, coordinating things on the day, all the way to their rest at the end of the night as well. So I've done that for about 4.5 years, and after that I moved on to more of a planning role where I was looking after couples from the moment of inquiry through the entire wedding planning, wedding menu tastings, final details appointments, individual consultations, final details appointments, and also on-the-day coordination and debrief after the wedding as well. So I had quite a good range of experience with weddings, and I understand weddings logistically because of my initial background in the operational side of wedding planning as well. Over the years, I have been very fortunate to have contributed to editorials with some of the biggest magazines and wedding directories in Scotland, that being the Scottish Wedding Magazine, Tie the Knot Scotland, Luxury Scottish Wedding, and My Scotland Wedding as well. Fantastic sources of information for wedding planning couples, so I highly recommend for you to check them out as well. I have also contributed to the biggest wedding blog, Love My Dress, and also the biggest Jewish wedding blog, Smashing the Glass as well. In addition to that, I have worked with numerous 4- and 5-star properties throughout Scotland, most recently 3 city centre venues in Edinburgh. At the time, I was looking after over 100 weddings across those 3 properties. It was a very exciting and fun time for me, and I've got so many wonderful memories. And it was at that time that wonderful couples have decided to nominate me for awards with the Scottish Vows Awards and also the Scottish Hotel Awards, where I was recognised with these awards over the past 4 years as well. But enough about me. I think we should get started with presentation from David. So I'm just going to bring David up on the screen. There we are. Hello, David. How are you?
I'm fine. Good evening, Oscar.
Good evening. How are you? Good to see you. I'm very well. Thank you very much. I'm super excited to have you in the interview tonight. I know that you've been preparing yourself. You've got so many exciting things to talk about. So I'm not going to, absolutely, I'm not going to take it away from you. We're going to start, guys, with a few questions. Firstly, for David to introduce himself. So if you don't mind, David, the first question I've got for you today is, what is it that you do? Could you tell us a little bit more about your role, about BagPiper Online, and just overall how you support wedding couples in that respect?
Yeah, well, basically, BagPiper Online is the company. I'm one of the pipers and the managing director. We have 10 pipers at present. Very unusual this year because there's nothing happening whatsoever. But the basic role of the piper is to fulfill the couple's wishes on the particular day and to do it as professionally as they possibly can. I mean, wedding piper would normally be at any event about an hour before to welcome the couple's guests as they arrive. Dependent on whether they have music for the ceremony, the piper can then play into the ceremony and back out again. And finally, usually the wedding breakfast, the piper would play the newlywed couple in and propose a toast before making an exit. So the pipers are there basically the whole day. We don't have any part-time weddings or half-day weddings or anything. I mean, basically they're there an hour before until the couple are sitting at dinner.
Absolutely. I mean, having worked with David for so many years, we always had this little catch up as you've arrived just before the ceremony, an hour before the ceremony, and David would pop in, check if there was any changes, making sure that everything is up to date, if there was any additional requests and stuff like that. And I think what was really interesting was that David could pick things up just on the day as well. And again, that just very much is down to the fact how experienced you are and the musical training you've had on bagpipes. And there was occasions where couples changed their mind on the wedding day because of X, Y, and Z. And we had that catch up, we had that little briefing beforehand. And then David was there until the couple was called in for their meal, and checking with couple, checking with me, checking with the venue, and making sure that everything obviously happened at the time as well. Perfect. Guys, we've got a few more people. We've got Dawn Stafford from the Scottish Wedding Magazine. Good to see you, Dawn. Thank you very much for joining us as well. But actually, we've got a few questions for you, David. So if you don't mind, I'm just going to pop them up on the screen. We have got Facebook user. Guys, if you are asking questions just now, if you follow the little description above the screen now and you click the permission, it shows your name. If you're not using that, make sure that you pop your name in the question or the comments so we can address them specifically and personally as well. We've got a question. David, what's the most popular song to play for walking down the aisle?
Probably sort of, there's usually three main ones. One is if it's traditional, then it's obviously Here Comes the Bride. Last year's most popular was Caledonia. And one of the biggest ones, which really gets played at probably 70%, are Highland Cathedral, which you could probably play yourself now. You've heard it that many times.
Maybe not on bagpipes, but I would give it a shot.
but the other great thing about, as long as we have the notice, and usually with weddings we do, I mean, we're probably, on average, we'll do 300, 350 weddings a year. So all the planning is done beforehand regarding the music. All of the pipers read and write music. So if there's anything at all that we can make fit, the bagpipes is quite a narrow key as far as being able to replicate pop songs and different things. And if a bride has a question and we can write the music, we will do so. We will also tell them it sounds absolutely horrendous on the bagpipe if it does.
Yeah, of course. And there's one more question that we'll get to later on today as well. But there is some requests that I've heard from you before as well, which are quite interesting. We've got another question for you, David. Also, is it difficult to adapt a change in schedule on the day itself?
It's difficult. The only reason it's difficult on the bagpipes is if the piper doesn't know the tune. Mm-hmm. The weddings and the formats, again, most of the pipers are ex-Scots Guards or police. So they've played from Buckingham Palace to Hong Kong, everywhere around the world. So it's not a big problem. As long as we know the way in and the way out, everything in between hand is second nature to the guys that do it. If it's music-wise, then they will certainly try their best. We don't like it to be left to the last minute if it's music, because unlike a normal musician like a guitar or a harpist or whatever it may be that plays music and suddenly gets a request from the couple, they can take a sheet music out. A bagpiper has not only got to read learn the music. They've got to memorize the music, so they never have any music in front of them. So it's got to be up here somewhere, and that vault. So that's the
Absolutely.
only difficult thing. If it's something that's a surprise and the piper doesn't know it, all of our pipers, for example, would suggest something that was similar if they could, so to help the bride or the couple out on the day.
Fantastic, brilliant. That's a brilliant answer. Thank you very much. Brilliant. We've got a couple more questions, but there is a question I've already got prepared for those questions later on. So we're going to move on to my question number 2, if you guys don't mind. Question number 2. How long have you been in this current role? How long have you been working with couples on weddings specifically, or how long have you had BagPiper Online now?
Well, BagPiper Online's just over 20 years.
Wow.
So we started out, I'm ex-Scots Guards. As I said, quite a few of the players are. We started out mainly to give couples the opportunity to have, if you like, the shortbread tin that they knew. Excellent quality pipers, excellent dress that we had in the Guards, and we always wear full Highland dress. So it was to give everybody that chance. Yes, there are probably cheaper options and guys who will do it for their lunch money or their beer money or whatever, but we are a bona fide company and have been for 20 years. It's very much what everybody expects, I think, to see at a wedding, as you can see in some of the pictures that we've got.
It's a professional work that you do, guys, and obviously having worked with David for so many years and so many different venues that I've worked with David, and even now in wedding planning, I will always go to David because I know the quality and I know the presentation, the professionalism, the approach, and the warm approach from all the guys as well is what makes the difference. And you can tell that you guys do it professionally. It's not just a side gig. It is a job for yourselves, and you're quite enthusiastic and passionate about it. And I think that's what makes a difference as well. Lovely. Just checking for any more comments or questions at the minute. Caroline, hold off. I've got your question here. We'll come back to it when the time comes as well. I've got a couple of hellos as well on the screen. Guys, absolutely, if you've got any questions, like I said at the start of the video, the more questions, the more comments, the more feedback we've got from you in the comment box below, the more interactive and the more relevant we can make this session for you as well. David has already mentioned that he's got over 20 years experience in looking after wedding plans for music. So obviously he's got so much experience, so much knowledge, so much information he can pass on to you guys as well. So just use this opportunity and ask us questions as well. Good to see us both. I'm not sure who this is. Say your name in the comments. We will come back to you as well. Thank you very much for joining. Lovely. I think we're going to move on to the next question now.
Yeah.
Question number 3. So question number 3 is, how many weddings do you work with on average per year?
Well, as I said earlier on, probably we have pipers in probably 7 or 8 of the major hotels under contract, as well as being freelance. So we're probably talking about 300 to 400 a year. Our biggest year, probably 4 or 5 years ago, was we were touching 600, which was a lot of weddings. It's more the administration wise. As I said, the pipers are absolutely fantastic as far as playing ability, but it's here in the office that we've got to book each individual piper, make sure they're allocated to the couples, make sure they speak to the couples, find out the music they've got. If there's anything they don't want, I mean, I mentioned earlier on about Highland Cathedral. Well, Highland Cathedral is one of the most popular tunes at funerals. So a lot of our couples will approach us and say, we do not want Highland Cathedral on the day at all, because it reminds me of my grand's funeral. So, there's two sides to it. A lot of people have it because it's joyous. A lot of people have it because, or don't have it because it brings back sadder memories.
Yeah. I remember, I think maybe a couple of years ago now, we did a wedding and bride very specifically said she didn't want the Amazing Grace was it reminded her of, I think it was her grand's funeral or something like that. You're absolutely right. People will have very personalised tastes and very personal requests for that as well. So it's being mindful of that as well. We've got Caroline. Go ahead, David. Sorry, you just want
I was
to
just
say
about to
something?
say it's not, obviously we're discussing the wedding side of things just now, but we probably do something like 250 corporate events a year for like Taste of Scotland and all over the world. And we also do the Saga cruise liners. We have pipers on the cruises doing Burns Night and Scots Nights and various things like that. So it is certainly a full-time job.
Definitely. I remember you guys have done things for the X Factor and Britain's Got Talent as well, I think, didn't you?
Yeah, I mean, in the past, we've done it for numerous. I mean, we did Surprise, we did the X Factor, we played at concerts with Paul McCartney and Wings. It's such a varied. That's one of the main things, or the main enjoyments. On some of the cruises, they're more sort of older people that are on the cruises. So, but again, meeting people from EastEnders and all these types of programs, it's pretty good. And way back in my past, we did. I don't know if people can remember it even, but live at Her Majesty's with Jimmy Tarbuck, we did it 3 times. So it's always good to get something that promotes the TV and stuff like that. But it's good fun.
Again, a testament to your business as well and to the team you're working with. We've got another question from Caroline. Caroline says, is it more common for couples to be piped into ceremony in recent times? Some people think it's bad luck, but I think it's getting more popular.
Well, it's probably the reverse, because of the sort of onslaught of pop hits that sort of have taken to usually the female hearts when they listen to them. Then it always used to be that we piped the bride in and then we piped the couple back out again. Sorry, I keep using bride, but it's just and then pipe the couple back out again. In recent years, a lot has changed in the sense that the pop tunes that have come to the fore that are sort of wedding orientated tend to be played for the bride going in, and then we play the couple out. So, but it's completely and utterly up to the individual. As I said, our pipers are not allowed to be skipping from venue to venue. When they're booked for that day. So as I said earlier on, from an hour before until the pipe the couple into dinner, whatever they want, the pipers will do.
And it is quite a long day when you think about it, because even when we work on our timelines, ceremony starting at about 2 o'clock on average, you would have been there for about 1:45, all the way through to call to dinner, which was just before 5 o'clock. And if there was obviously any delays or anything like that, that's minimum of 5-6 hours sometimes as well. So it is a long.
And it takes quite a while to prepare the kit and stuff as well. It's not just just turn up and suddenly become the big bonnet and everything. It's all got to be cleaned and prepared, and every time you do it. So it is quite a long day, and of course, depending on where the wedding is, there's obviously the travel time there and back as well.
Of course. Brilliant, guys. Thank you very much for all the participation questions so far. Like I said before, if you are watching us on repeat, pop a comment in the box below, #repeat, so that David and I can come back to any questions after the live is finished. We are going live in my Facebook page, The Wedding Guru Oscar, and also in my Facebook group, the Interactive Facebook Lives with The Wedding Guru Oscar as well. The more questions we've got, like I said before, the more relevant we can make it for you. So we highly encourage questions. We're just going to move on to the next question, which is this question on the screen, question number 4. What aspects of your role do you love the most, David?
I think probably
The whiskey?
Believe it or not, that's one thing. It has disappeared because of the new Scottish drinking laws. So
Yeah.
even when we toast the bride now, unfortunately, it's got to be a soft drink.
Yeah.
So, and that varies from anything from apple juice to Red Bull, whatever looks like whiskey. But no, I think probably meeting new faces and new people. And on the corporate side, we meet an awful lot. We play in Hong Kong and South Korea and places like that. So you're meeting completely different people. Um, the joyous thing, I think, is being able to work with them, to work what they want for their big day, and then to see their faces when we actually deliver it. And I just, I think meeting new people is probably the answer to the question.
Okay, perfect. That's amazing. I think in the wedding industry, there's the beauty of meeting so many different professionals in the industry, but so many couples, because realistically, you will need the couple and help them in the process, and then do their wedding day as well. But there's so many other occasions that they might go back and go, actually, we've used this supplier, and the relationship definitely keeps on going, and the feedback that you guys get is absolutely incredible as well, so that helps as well. Is there any other questions? I'm just checking for any questions here. I think we're up to date so far. There is one more question, but I'm just keeping it for a little bit later in our interview. If there's no more questions, I'm going to move on to the next one on the screen. So, question number 5, David. What inspires you? I know it's quite a broad question, but I suppose it could be something in relation to music, something in relation to BagPiper Online, something to do with weddings, something to do with just generally looking after your business, I suppose.
I mean, basically, I think what inspires me is I love bagpipes. I love bagpipe music. So, again, the 10 players that we have, I think between us, we've won the World Championships 40 times. Between us, we're all dedicated to it. I mean, there wasn't much as far as inspiration needed when I was younger. My great grandfather was a pipe major, my father was a pipe major, I'm a pipe major. All went and served in forces in different ones. I was the one that broke the mould and went to the Scots Guards. The local regiment was the QOSBs. But my father was immensely proud because at that time, the 1st and 2nd Battalion Scots Guard bands were two of the best pipe bands in the world.
Wow.
And the Army School of Piping is second to none. I mean, it's just the bee's knees for everybody that goes in there and strives to get to where they are. But absolutely love it. I sit daytime listening to pipes. I played in Grade 1, which is effectively the Premier League for the pipe bands for the last coming on 30 years. And the innovation and to the average person, it won't be noticeable, but to the guys that are in that particular field, they just love it.
Yeah, brilliant, fantastic. There was a question I wanted to ask you, but it's totally escaped me now, and hopefully we'll come back to it later.
But the great thing is, who can normally say they get up and do their job or work every day that they love.
Yes,
I do.
It makes a difference. It makes a difference to love what you do, and clearly, from what you're saying, it is a way of life doing bagpipes, and you're available for not just weddings, but so many other things. I've obviously seen you traveling on cruises and stuff like that, going to Hong Kong, and doing a lot of the corporate events as well. So, it's brilliant to see that, because it is a fantastic talent that you've got, and also the business that you run as well. Perfect, guys. Just checking for any comments at the minute, any questions. Like I said before, if you've got any comments, if you've got any questions, pop them in the comment box below, and we will try and answer as many questions as possible during this one-off opportunity to ask David, with over 20 years experience in weddings and events, about the bagpipes and to live music at weddings as well, more specifically. he will be available throughout this live to answer them as well. Right at the end of the session, there will be an open Q&A as well, so if you want to leave any questions to them, you're absolutely more than welcome to do that as well. Okay, David, I think we're ready to move on to the next question. So, can you tell us about the most memorable wedding you've ever worked on?
The most memorable wedding? Oh, we do so many of them. It's there are loads of memorable weddings, usually involved in sort of castles or some of the fantastic venues we have in Scotland. But the last couple of years, we've done a wedding in Italy for a couple, and the great thing there for us was that we were able to go across. The girl was Scottish and the guy was Italian, and the mother had asked us to go a week before. It was away in the south of Italy, and what reminded me was the kind of balcony serenading thing in this wee village. So what happened was the groom in Italy always gets his mates out with probably 7 or 8 jugs of wine and plays music to the future bride or future partner on the balcony. And that particular one, I then came playing up the main street with the bagpipes, and she just went into absolute hysterics. it was so funny, but so nice. We were in Gozo last year, which was an unusual one, very, very hot. But again, it was just a case of going across, we don't really need that much rehearsal because we know everything has been discussed and the plans are all done beforehand. I think the unusual one there was that the guy was really into Star Wars. So the big surprise was when they left the wedding, we wrote the theme for Star Wars and played that as they came out of the ceremony.
That's amazing. That's brilliant.
So yeah, but there are loads of different experiences, as you know, as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, doing 300 to 600 weddings a year, you will have like 1,000,001 weird and wonderful memories as well. So,
oh yes, some better kept to yourself.
That's for sure. That's for sure, David. Perfect, guys. We're just checking for any comments or questions. I think we're all up to date so far. So I'm going to go to the next question. And this is actually one of the questions that popped up by Caroline on the screen. Have you ever been asked to pipe a strange song? I had a Christmas wedding once, and the piper played Jingle Bells on exciting the wedding breakfast, and everyone was singing. Pipers make the most amazing atmosphere. So the most unusual request, the most unusual, the strangest request, and what's your kind of
yeah, again, we do that, but we always ask first, do they want a wee bit of a jolly at Christmas time and play Jingle Bells or whatever. Equally so, somebody's got a birthday at the time, happy birthday, or Cliff Richard, congratulations. If it's a sometimes an auntie and uncle are having a wedding anniversary at the actual event. And there are some sad ones as well. There's quite a few where you'll know as well that a lot of the couples set up the top table where maybe their grandparents are not actually there, but have the pictures there, and we'll play something that they thought was their favourite tune. And everybody in the audience knows what it's about. And it's really quite touching when you play back out of the place again, and they've remembered the people who couldn't be there.
No, absolutely. Because my and George's wedding photo was up on the screen, and David was absolutely kind and wonderful to look after playing pipes at our wedding. And I just remember when I spoke to you not that long ago, 2.5 years now, about playing the Polish anthem, because obviously I come from Poland, and David said, oh goodness me, this is going to take a wee while. And what a an amazing outcome it was, and how much it thrilled a Polish side of the family and friends that travelled from Poland to have been honoured and respected and shown this special thing which anthems are. I think we got played into the Polish anthem, and you played the Flower of Scotland for the way out or something like that.
Yeah.
And they still have it on the recording, and it was absolutely fantastic and brilliant. And everyone was talking afterwards about it as well. And my Polish guests, their minds were absolutely blown.
Yeah, well, we've had quite a big response from that, because I think probably, well, we were actually going to play in Poland a couple of times this year, but that's been postponed for weddings. And yes, yours is the only one we've actually written that for, but it's up here now. So we were asked to play a couple of weddings this year, but unfortunately they haven't gone ahead. But we will be next year.
Definitely, definitely. And is next year looking really quite busy because of that for yourselves?
Well, I think next year is just, I mean, for an example, I think before we came on air, we just went through August weddings there. So we've got something like 137 weddings pushed into next year from this year already.
And how many weddings have you had booked already for next August?
For next year, we'll have the normal amount of weddings because of the uncertainty just now. As I said, we have a number of contracts with large hotels and castles. So because of the situations just now, I think couples are a wee bit hesitant at booking, just in case something goes wrong and we have a second wave of this horrible thing. But yeah, it's Dave still to come in. So so once they start coming in, then it's going to be absolute pandemonium. So like most of the excellent suppliers that we deal with, it's a must if you're going to book for 2021 to get it done as quickly as possible. And you're not let down. The great thing about ourselves is that we've normally always got some sort of availability, because even though the core pipers that we do have other people who don't or wouldn't normally play, but are fantastic players as well, and we can usually call a favour in if it's that extreme. I mean, probably the most we've done last year, we did 13 weddings in a one day, which was absolutely mind blowing for me, because I was playing at a wedding myself, and you're looking, play your part, then back onto the iPad to make sure everybody's arrived on time and everybody's there and there's nothing going wrong. And it hasn't, touch wood, ever gone wrong.
I think that is
the worst thing we've had is a puncture on the way there and had to miss the first bit, and then made it for the ceremony.
Wow, jeez. And things like that happen, obviously, it's all life, but the massive thing, I think, what gave me confidence, particularly when I worked at venues and we worked with yourselves, I could rely on you, because you weren't just a one-man show, you were a team of fantastic bagpipers. You've introduced so many guys to us as well that we were familiar with, so if somebody couldn't make it, there was an emergency or something like that, we didn't even know about the background of what was going on. The next person was in, and we knew they were in full uniform and prepared and had all the information, they were ready to go. So that was something that always gave me a lot of confidence, and one of the reasons why I still continually work with yourselves as well. So that's brilliant.
Yeah. But as I said, most of all of the guys know the business inside out, so it's really we just need to find a way in and a way out, which, as you appreciate, sometimes is difficult in the larger weddings. Most pipers are not skinny guys. And unfortunately some of the venues tend to think that you're a whippet when you come back out playing from the bride and groom with a couple into the dinner.
Yeah. So, and it's also the doors as well.
Yes, very important that the doors are. It's not so bad. They don't forget to open them when you're going in. It's forgetting to open them when you're leaving. That's the problem a lot of the time.
Seen that happening, of course. Brilliant, fantastic. Guys, any other questions at this stage? Again, highly recommend for you to fire the questions in the comment box below. We will have an open Q&A. We are only a couple of questions away from the end of the official interview, so I'll hand this over to you at that point. But if you've got any questions, feel free to pop them in the comments below, and we will try and answer as many of them as possible. We're going to move on to the next question, David.
Yeah.
So question number 8, which is in fact the final question here today, is if you could tell us one piece of advice you believe all couples should consider in their wedding planning.
Well, I think it's not just the piper that you've got to look at, it's the whole ambience of the day, because we work with so many different suppliers and work so well, and we've got a brilliant relationship with them. It's having the ability to work with people and for you to understand their job and them to understand ours. For instance, a photographer, we always get the pipers to stop when the bride's coming out the car and then to start again, because the last thing you want is the pipes blaring over the top of a photographer who's trying to position a bride in the car for her final pictures before she goes into the ceremony. Just things like that, that the venues themselves, making sure that the staff are there and making sure our bit's done. As far as the whole thing through, I think probably, and I hate to say it because there's so many, but I think the current situation will have got rid of quite a lot of the less reputable suppliers who think they can just jump onto the wagon and provide a service and then disappear again. Probably you've heard quite a few, or certainly was last year, into last year, bridal shops, etc., going under. Well, the ones that we've dealt with for the last 15, 20 years are still there. It's just the professionalism of the service. Always make sure that you're covered. I mean, all of our guys, whether we put a pipe band out or a piper, are covered by our public liability. So it's one of the things that certainly in the corporate world is the first question that any venue will ask you. Do you have public liability? Can we see a copy of it? As long as they've got the confidence that that's in the background, they can. One of probably the worst, and it wasn't a piper, it was a cake on the day that collapsed in itself. But one of the big hotels in Edinburgh, unfortunately, we were able to say to the couple, we know a very, very reputable cake. They're in, quite close, and as long as you can make something as close to what you had, we'll get a cake here. And they did. And it was just having that wee bit of a contact to make sure, filling in. I mean, the worst things, and you're sort of at that end, or just staff used to be, where they've got a CD to play and then the CD doesn't work, or it's on an iPhone and it doesn't work. The pipers are there, so if the worst comes to the worst, even if the bride had a tune to be played into, a pop tune, we can step in and make sure that it's sort of like seamless, because obviously the people at the wedding don't know there was anything wrong in the first place. So I think it's making sure you've got good suppliers, making sure you work with professional people that have been in the business for a long time, listen to recommendations. It's very much like yourself. I know that you put so much work into organising the wedding, and you have the same feeling as I do at the end of the day when you sit down and think that went well, and it's just so satisfying that you made somebody's day, because it's a day that somebody's planned for years. And that's why I feel so sorry for people just now, because my son included, who is getting married, but everything's just up in the air until the venues and the government tell the venues what we can actually do to get people back on track again.
I think the difficulty, you're absolutely right, at the minute is not having that very clear roadmap of what's happening with events, what's happening with weddings and stuff like that. I totally get that, and we can all maybe this and maybe that, but actually the reality is nobody knows, and the situation is not improving or not changing enough. So it is a difficult one, but it is hard. And we had this actually conversation just before we started the Facebook Live today with David, that some couples will have planned their wedding for 2 years, maybe a year, maybe 2.5 years, and it gets to the point now that they can't have it, and there's a prospect of waiting potentially another year. it is disheartening and it's hard, and we totally appreciate that. So that's why we work as a community, as a industry, as a network together to make sure that it all happens at the right time and with the right
Yeah, I mean, we
deadlines.
opened the file for 2023 last week, first booking for 2023, and you think, oh my God, that's so long away. But it soon comes in, as any couple will tell you. The planning process starts, and the 2 years just seems to fly in. But
Absolutely.
our job on the day is to make it as special a day as we possibly can with our part of it for the couple.
And you're right, because the other aspect of that is obviously you've got your weddings, because next year is going to be so busy, and we've already got so many bookings for 2022. People are looking further away, and with the financial situation that is happening at the minute, people are planning a little bit more in advance as well. Um, Perfect. There was something else you said before that totally. I was like, yes, absolutely, but it's gone out of my head. If I remember it, I will repeat it. Guys, I'm just checking for any questions and comments. If you've got any questions or comments, pop them in the box below. We have finished with the official part of the questions. What I'm going to do actually, in fact, now is I'm going to mute David and I. I found David one of the videos of you playing at the George Hotel bagpipes for the bride going into the wedding ceremony. It's recorded by somebody else, but I thought that's quite a good showcase. So if you guys give me 1 wee second, I'm just going to pop it up on the screen. Okay, we're back on again, guys. I hope you've enjoyed that. I hope you could hear the. Oh, I want to go back slide. I hope you've been able to hear the sound of bagpipes as well. The last time I've done a little bit of a showcase of a promo video, and the sound wasn't working. So I hope that we fix this for this Facebook Live. Guys, this is your opportunity to ask David any final questions. Any questions at all you might have for David? No sound again, guys. I'm going to look into that again. I thought I fixed it, but apparently not so much. So bear with us. We've got Philippa. Hello, everyone. Any final questions from you guys? Listen, if you've got no more questions just now, guys, this video will be available on my Facebook page, The Wedding Guru Oscar, and also in my private group, the Interactive Facebook Lives with The Wedding Guru Oscar. You can pop your comments in the comment box below after the live sessions are finished, or send us a direct message. While we're still available, pop the questions in the comments box below. If we don't get a chance to respond to them now, we will go back and answer them. If you are watching us on repeat, make sure you comment #repeat in the comments box below. We will get a notification, come back to any of your questions after the session is finished as well. Before we finish up for today, I just wanted to quickly wrap up and tell you guys a little bit more about what I can do in your wedding planning. I can dramatically help you to reduce the time you spend on your wedding planning. Like I said, I've got over a decade of wedding planning experience. I've done it all. I've planned weddings in really bad winters, planned weddings, short leads, long term, and everything in between that as well. Small, big, city centre, everything else in between that as well. So how I can support you with that is I offer 1 hour consultations. These are particularly popular with couples that are planning weddings themselves, but want that little bit of expert advice of their wedding plans, whether that's through the wedding planning, maybe assistance with sourcing one supplier, or potentially just in the final stages of wedding planning to make sure that everything is finalised. And that consultation has recently been referred by a couple as a sanity pick, and I quite like that. It sticks with me for now as well. The other thing that I can help you with is on-the-day coordinations, particularly popular with dry hire venues where you might not have the support of a wedding coordinator, or venues that might have a wedding coordinator up to the point of the day itself but don't have that person on the day. So I can support you with on-the-day support, coordination, planning, liaison with suppliers, and the final liaison with suppliers as well. And then you've got the full wedding planning, which is everything from venue sourcing, supplier sourcing, negotiating rates, planning, liaison, attending appointments, and being there on the wedding day as well. So I can cover absolutely everything in that range for you as well. If you've got, guys, any more questions, I'm just going to check on the screen here. No more questions so far. Next week, I've got another fantastic supplier, another expert, industry expert I'm bringing to you. Is Lisa Sandman from Ruby Lemon. Lisa actually provides all sorts of wow and incredible entertainment to weddings and events. She can have bartenders, she can have guys on stilts, she can have fire throwers, she can have mirror guys, anything, absolutely anything to make your wedding truly memorable and just a wow an experience in itself as well. So that's next Thursday, the 20th of August at 6 p.m. Lisa is super excited to meet you all, guys. If you've got any questions in advance of our session next week, send them in direct message over to me and I'll pop them into our questions as well. And just finally, sorry here, on the screen you've got my details. I highly recommend for you if you're interested to book my free consultation, which is available on my website. You've got all the details up on the screen. I will also pop up the contact details for David and his team as well. They're just on the screen right now. So you've got his phone number, website, and Facebook handle, Instagram handle, and also the email address as well. Like I said before, all these Facebook Lives will remain in my Facebook page and also in the fully interactive Facebook Live with the Wedding Guru Oscar group. So you can always go back and pick up these details as well. David, any final things you would like to say to the guys here in the Facebook Live just now?
No, just best of luck for your futures together. If there's any requirement for or to help put some of the names to the tunes as the audio wasn't on there, then look in the website. There is an audio section that may help you pick something for the big day.
Fantastic, brilliant. David, thank you very much. It's been a pleasure hosting you for this interview. As always, it's a pleasure working with you. I'm very much looking forward to the weddings we've got planned for next year as well. Guys, thank you very much for joining us. Thank you for being so engaged and involved as well. I hope you've enjoyed this session. If you would like to share this session out into the world, I highly would thank you for that as well. And hopefully see you all next Thursday and have a wonderful evening, everyone. Take care now. Bye, guys.
Bye.